My name is Adam, and I'm here with my wonderful co-host, Julia. How are you doing today, Julia?
Hi, Adam. I'm doing great, thank you. Hello to all our listeners out there. We're so glad you've joined us today for what's going to be a really interesting discussion. We've got a lot to cover, and we're excited to get started.
Absolutely, Julia. Today's topic is one that affects many people, especially young ones. We're going to talk about how social media affects the young generation. Social media is everywhere nowadays, and it's something that most young people use every day. But how does it really impact them? That's what we're going to explore today.
Yes, Adam. Social media can be both a positive and a negative influence on young people. It's a place where they can connect with friends, learn new things, and express themselves. But at the same time, it can also bring challenges like pressure to fit in, cyberbullying, and even addiction. We're going to talk about all of this and more.
And to help us dive deep into this topic, we have two special guests with us today. First, we have Dr. Thomas. Dr. Thomas is a psychologist who specializes in youth behavior and has spent many years studying how social media affects the minds and behaviors of young people. Welcome, Dr. Thomas.
Thank you, Adam and Julia. It's a pleasure to be here today. Social media is such an integral part of young people's lives now, and I'm really looking forward to discussing how it can both help and harm them.
We're really happy to have you with us, Dr. Thomas. Your expertise is going to be so valuable in helping us understand the psychological aspects of social media.
And we also have Emma with us today. Emma is a young social media influencer who has a large following on platforms like Instagram and TikTok. She uses social media every day and knows firsthand what it's like to be in the spotlight at a young age. Welcome, Emma.
Hi, Adam and Julia. Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to be here and to share my experiences. Social media has been a big part of my life, and I've seen both the good and the bad sides of it. I hope my story can help other young people who are also navigating the world of social media.
We're so glad you're here, Emma. Your perspective as someone who is actively using social media is going to be really important in our discussion.
Absolutely. So, we've got a psychologist who can give us the science and psychology behind social media use, and we have Emma, who can tell us what it's like to be a young person living and working in the social media world. This is going to be a great conversation.
Yes, it will be. So, to all our listeners, get comfortable and let's get ready to learn more about how social media is shaping the lives of the young generation. Whether you're a young person yourself, a parent, or just someone interested in this topic, we hope you'll find today's episode both informative and thought-provoking.
All right, everyone. Let's dive into our first segment where we'll talk about what social media really is and how it has become such a significant part of the young generation's life. Social media, in its simplest form, is a collection of websites and applications that allow people to create, share, and exchange information and ideas in virtual communities and networks. This can include everything from posting a picture, writing a comment, sharing a video, or even just liking someone else's post. It's a way for people to connect, communicate, and interact with each other online.
That's right, Adam. Social media has become much more than just a place to share photos or chat with friends. It's evolved into a major platform for everything from news and entertainment to education and business. But what's particularly interesting is how it has really taken hold of the younger generation. If we think back just a few years ago, social media wasn't as big as it is today. But now it's everywhere. Almost everyone, especially young people, is on some form of social media.
Exactly, Julia. social media really started gaining popularity with platforms like Facebook in the mid-2000s. It allowed people to reconnect with old friends, share their lives online, and discover new interests. As technology improved, smartphones became more accessible, and social media apps started to evolve. Platforms like Instagram, Snapchat, and later TikTok started to emerge, each offering something different and new, but all aimed at connecting people in various ways.
And that's a big part of why social media has become so popular with the younger generation. These platforms are designed to be engaging and easy to use, especially on mobile devices, which young people are constantly using. Whether it's sharing a moment from their day on Instagram, making a fun video on TikTok, or chatting with friends on Snapchat, social media fits seamlessly into their daily routines.
Yes, and these platforms also offer something that young people crave, a sense of community and belonging. When you're young, you're trying to figure out who you are and where you fit in. Social media gives them a space to express themselves, share their interests, and connect with others who have similar passions or experiences. It can be very empowering, but it also has its downsides, which we'll talk about later.
Before we get into the positives and negatives, let's take a closer look at some of the major social media platforms that young people are using today. First up, there's Instagram. Instagram is primarily a photo and video sharing platform where users can post pictures and short videos, often accompanied by captions. It's all about visuals and aesthetics, which is why it's so popular among young people who love to share their lives through pictures and videos.
That's right, Julia. Instagram also has features like Stories and Reels, which allow users to share more spontaneous or creative content that disappears after 24 hours, or create short, engaging videos that can be shared widely. These features have made Instagram not just a place to share photos, but a place to be creative and experiment with different forms of content.
Another big platform is TikTok. TikTok is all about short, creative videos, usually set to music. It's incredibly popular with young people because it's so easy to use and allows for a lot of creativity. Whether it's dancing, lip-syncing, comedy, or educational content, TikTok has something for everyone, and its algorithm makes it easy to discover new content and creators that match your interests.
And then there's Facebook, which is actually more popular with older generations, but still used by younger people, especially for staying connected with family or for joining groups related to their interests. Facebook was one of the first big social media platforms and still has a huge user base, although it has been surpassed in popularity by more visually focused platforms like Instagram and TikTok among younger users.
Let's not forget Snapchat, which is all about sending short, disappearing messages and photos to friends. It's very popular with teenagers and young adults because it feels more private and less permanent than other platforms. Plus, it has features like filters and lenses that let users have fun with their photos and videos.
So, why do young people use these platforms so much? Well, there are a few reasons. First, social media is a way for them to stay connected with friends and family, especially if they don't see them every day. It's a way to keep in touch and share what's going on in their lives. Second, social media allows them to express themselves. Whether it's through photos, videos, or written posts, they can share their thoughts, feelings, and creativity with the world.
Another reason is entertainment. Social media is full of funny videos, memes, challenges, and trends that are fun to watch and participate in. It's also a way to discover new music, movies, and other content that they might not have found otherwise. And, of course, there's the social aspect, the likes, comments, and shares that make them feel seen and appreciated by others.
But as we've mentioned, while social media offers many benefits, it also comes with challenges. To help us understand more about the psychological impact of social media on young people, let's turn to Dr. Thomas. Dr. Thomas, can you explain how social media affects young minds?
Certainly, Adam. Social media can have a profound impact on young people, both positive and negative. On the positive side, as you've both mentioned, it can provide a sense of community and belonging, which is very important during the adolescent years when young people are forming their identities. It can also be a source of support and encouragement, especially for those who may not have a strong support system in their offline lives.
That's a good point, Doctor. Thomas, it's easy to see how connecting with others who share similar experiences or challenges could be really beneficial for young people.
Absolutely, Julia. However, there are also significant risks. One of the biggest concerns is the impact on self-esteem. Social media often presents an idealized version of life, where everyone seems to be happy, successful, and attractive. This can lead to young people comparing themselves to others and feeling inadequate or unhappy with their own lives. They may feel pressure to present themselves in a certain way or to achieve a certain level of popularity, which can be very stressful. Tutidu.
That sounds really challenging, Doctor. Thomas, it seems like it would be difficult for young people to navigate all of that.
It can be, Adam. Another issue is that social media can be addictive. The constant notifications, likes, and comments can create a cycle where young people feel the need to check their phones constantly, which can interfere with their daily lives, sleep, and even mental health. It's important for them to learn how to use social media in a balanced way, so it doesn't take over their lives.
That makes a lot of sense, Doctor. Thomas, Emma, as someone who's very active on social media, what's been your experience? How has social media affected you?
Well, Julia, being on social media has definitely been a big part of my life. On one hand, it's given me a lot of opportunities. I've been able to connect with so many people, share my passions, and even build a career out of it. But it hasn't always been easy. Like Dr. Thomas mentioned, there's a lot of pressure to look a certain way and to always be on. Sometimes it feels like I'm living my life for the camera rather than for myself.
That sounds really tough, Emma. Do you feel like the positives outweigh the negatives for you?
Sometimes, yes, but it's a balancing act. I've had to learn how to set boundaries for myself, like not checking my phone first thing in the morning or before bed, and reminding myself that what I see online isn't always the full picture. It's important to remember that everyone is human and has struggles, even if they don't show it on social media.
Thank you for sharing that, Emma. It's so important for young people to hear from someone like you who's experienced both the good and the bad sides of social media. It's easy to get caught up in the excitement and forget that there are real people behind the screens.
Absolutely, Julia. And I hope that by sharing my experience, I can help others navigate social media in a way that's healthy and positive.
That's really valuable insight, Emma. So, as we've heard, social media can have a big impact on young people's lives, both in good ways and bad. Understanding how to use it responsibly is key, and we'll be diving deeper into that in our next segments.
Segment 3. Positive effects of social media.
Now that we've explored what social media is and why it's so popular among the younger generation, let's shift our focus to the positive impacts of social media. While we often hear about the negative aspects, it's important to recognize that social media also offers a lot of benefits, especially for young people. One of the biggest advantages is the ability to connect with friends and family, no matter where they are in the world. For example, if a young person moves to a new city or even a new country, Social media allows them to stay in touch with their old friends and continue those important relationships. It can help make transitions like these a bit easier, providing a sense of continuity and support.
That's so true, Adam. Social media has really revolutionized the way we communicate. It's not just about staying in touch, though. It's also about discovering new things and learning. For example, there are countless educational accounts, pages, and videos on social media platforms that cover everything from science and history to cooking and art. Young people can follow these accounts to learn about topics they're interested in or even discover new interests. It's a way for them to broaden their horizons beyond what they might learn in school.
Exactly, Julia. And let's not forget about the role of social media in spreading important information quickly. In times of crisis or emergency, social media can be a lifeline, providing real-time updates and allowing people to share resources and support. We've seen this during natural disasters, social movements, and more recently, during the COVID-19 pandemic. Social media has been crucial in helping people stay informed and connected during difficult times.
Absolutely, Adam. And on a more personal level, social media can be a powerful tool for self-expression. For many young people, social media is a platform where they can share their thoughts, feelings, and creativity with the world. Whether it's through writing, photography, music, or art, they have a space to express who they are and what they care about. This can be incredibly empowering, especially for those who might feel shy or reserved in face-to-face interactions.
Yes, Julia, that's such an important point. For many young people, social media is a place where they can be themselves without fear of judgment. It's also a place where they can find communities of like-minded people who share their interests and passions. Whether it's a group dedicated to a favorite hobby, a fan community for a particular artist or show, or a support group for a specific challenge they're facing, social media can provide a sense of belonging that's crucial during the often turbulent teenage years.
I've read so many stories about young people who have found their voice through social media. Take, for example, the countless young artists who have used platforms like Instagram to share their work. For some, it started as a simple hobby, posting drawings or photos for friends and family. But as their followers grew, they gained confidence and started pursuing their art more seriously. Some have even turned their passion into a career, all thanks to the exposure and encouragement they received on social media.
That's a great example, Julia. And speaking of careers, social media has opened up so many new opportunities for young people. Not only can they showcase their talents, but they can also learn new skills, network with professionals, and even start their own businesses. Whether it's creating content, selling products, or offering services, social media has made it possible for young entrepreneurs to reach a global audience from the comfort of their own homes.
And that's where the power of social media really shines. It democratizes opportunity, allowing anyone with a passion and a bit of creativity to potentially build something amazing. Of course, it takes hard work and dedication, but the tools and platforms are there for those who want to use them. Now, let's hear from our guests on this topic. Dr. Thomas, from your perspective as a psychologist, what are some of the positive effects of social media that you've observed in young people?
Thank you, Julia. As you both mentioned, there are certainly many positive aspects of social media. One of the key benefits is the increased awareness of global issues. Young people today are more connected to the world than ever before, and social media plays a huge role in that. Through platforms like Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok, they can learn about what's happening in different parts of the world, whether it's social justice movements, environmental issues, or humanitarian crises. This exposure can foster a greater sense of empathy and responsibility, encouraging young people to get involved and make a difference.
That's a really powerful point, Dr. Thomas. Social media can be a window into the world, showing young people different cultures, perspectives, and challenges that they might not encounter in their everyday lives.
Exactly, Adam. And this global awareness can inspire young people to become more active in their communities and the world at large. Whether it's through online activism, volunteering, or simply spreading the word about important causes, social media can be a tool for positive change. Additionally, social media can provide valuable social support. For young people who may feel isolated or misunderstood, online communities can offer a sense of belonging and understanding. This is especially true for those dealing with issues like mental health challenges, where finding others who have similar experiences can be incredibly comforting and encouraging.
Thank you, Doctor. Thomas. It's so important to remember that social media isn't just about entertainment. It can be a force for good in many ways. Emma, as a young social media influencer, you've had a unique experience. Can you share how social media has positively impacted your life and career?
Sure, Julia. Social media has truly transformed my life in ways I never expected. When I first started, I was just posting pictures and videos for fun, sharing my interests with friends. But as my following grew, I realized that I could turn my passion into a career. Social media gave me a platform to showcase my skills, connect with brands, and build a business. It's allowed me to do what I love every day, and I'm incredibly grateful for that. But beyond the career opportunities, social media has also given me a voice. I've been able to share my thoughts on issues that matter to me, connect with others who share my values, and even inspire my followers to take action on causes that are important to them.
That's fantastic, Emma. It's inspiring to see how you've used social media not just to build a career, but also to make a positive impact on others. What advice would you give to young people who are just starting out on social media?
My advice would be to stay true to yourself. It's easy to get caught up in trends or to feel like you have to be someone you're not in order to be successful. But the most important thing is to be authentic. People are drawn to realness, and if you're genuine, you'll attract the right audience. Also, don't be afraid to use your platform for good. Whether you have 100 followers or 100,000, your voice matters and you can make a difference.
Thank you, Emma. That's such valuable advice. It's clear that social media can be a powerful tool for connection, learning, and self-expression when used in a positive and mindful way. We've covered some great points about the benefits of social media, and it's important for our listeners to remember that while there are challenges, there are also many opportunities to use these platforms to enhance their lives and make a positive impact on the world.
Absolutely, Julia. We'll be discussing some of the challenges and potential risks of social media in our next segment, but it's good to start by acknowledging the positive side. As we've seen, when used responsibly, social media can be a wonderful way for young people to connect, learn, and grow.
Segment 4: Negative effects of social media.
Now that we've discussed the positive aspects of social media, it's important to also talk about the negative effects it can have, especially on young people. Social media, for all its benefits, can also be a double-edged sword. One of the biggest concerns is the potential for addiction. Social media platforms are designed to keep users engaged with endless scrolling, notifications, and updates. This can lead to young people spending hours on their phones every day, often at the expense of more productive activities like studying, exercising, or even just getting enough sleep.
That's a great point, Adam. Social media addiction is a growing issue, and it can have serious consequences. When young people spend too much time online, it can start to affect their real-life relationships, their academic performance, and even their mental health. But addiction isn't the only problem. There's also the issue of cyberbullying, which has become all too common on social media platforms. Unlike traditional bullying, which usually happens in person, cyberbullying can occur at any time and from anywhere. This constant threat can make young people feel unsafe and vulnerable, even in their own homes.
Exactly, Julia. Cyberbullying can be incredibly damaging, and because it happens online, it can be difficult to escape. Young people who are targeted may feel isolated and powerless, and the effects can be long-lasting. Another issue is the unrealistic portrayals of life that are so common on social media. Many users, especially influencers, only share the best parts of their lives, the perfect photos, the amazing vacations, the flawless looks. This can create a false sense of reality, where young people feel like they have to live up to these impossible standards.
And that brings us to another major concern: the pressure to look perfect. On platforms like Instagram and TikTok, where image is everything, there's a huge amount of pressure on young people to present themselves in a certain way. They might spend hours editing their photos, using filters, or even considering plastic surgery just to look like the people they see online. This can have a devastating impact on self-esteem, leading to feelings of inadequacy and depression. It's heartbreaking to think that so many young people are struggling with these issues because of what they see on social media.
Yes, Julia. And this pressure isn't just about appearance. It's also about the pressure to have a perfect life. Social media often paints an unrealistic picture of what life should be. Always fun, always exciting, always glamorous. This can make young people feel like they're not doing enough, or that their lives aren't good enough. They start comparing themselves to others, and this constant comparison can lead to anxiety, depression, and a sense of failure.
That's a really important point, Adam. The comparison trap is something that a lot of young people fall into. They see others posting about their successes, their travels, their relationships, and they start to feel like they're falling behind. But what they don't realize is that most people only share the highlights of their lives on social media. They don't see the struggles, the bad days, the disappointments. This distorted view of reality can be incredibly damaging, especially for young people who are still figuring out who they are and what they want in life.
Absolutely, Julia. And this leads to another concern: the impact of social media on mental health. With all the pressures and comparisons, it's no surprise that there's a growing link between social media use and mental health issues like anxiety, depression, and loneliness. To help us understand this better, let's bring in Dr. Thomas. As a psychologist who works with young people, what have you observed about the mental health risks associated with social media?
So, how do you think social media is affecting your generation?
It's everywhere we wake up. Check it, we're scrolling through it during breaks. Even before bed, it's like part of our routine.
Do you think that's a good thing or a bad thing?
Both. I guess it keeps us connected, but sometimes it feels like we're disconnected, you know.
To connected, how so?
Like there's no escape even when you're offline. You're thinking about what you're missing.
That constant pull, I imagine, can be exhausting.
It is, and it's not just that everyone's posting their best moments, and you're sitting there thinking, why isn't my life like that?
Comparison, it's one of the biggest traps, isn't it?
Yeah, and even though I know it's not real, it still gets to me sometimes.
That's the tricky part. It feels real. Do you think that kind of pressure is something most young people experience?
For sure, everyone's chasing likes, followers, comments, like it's some kind of competition.
And what happens when you don't meet those expectations?
It hurts you feel like you're not good enough, like you're failing at something that doesn't even matter.
Yet it feels like it matters in the moment, doesn't it?
Exactly, it's hard to step back and remind yourself it's just social media.
Hard, but so important. Do you think most people your age realize that?
Not really. Most of us just keep going, scrolling, posting without really thinking about it.
Almost like it's become automatic.
Yeah, like second nature, and honestly, it's scary when you think about how much time we spend on it.
That's an interesting point. How much time do you think the average young person spends on social media?
Ours way too many. Some people are on it all day, even during class.
During class, that's concerning. Do you think it affects focus or learning?
Definitely, it's like you're there, but not really there because your mind's on your phone.
And does anyone ever put their phones down? Or is it just constant?
Rarely, even if someone's not checking their phones in their hand or...
That constant attachment, do you think it's more about habit? Or is it something deeper?
Maybe both. It's a habit, for sure, but also it's like a need. Like, what if you miss something important?
A FOMO, fear of missing out. Do you think that fear drives most of your generation's social media use?
Absolutely. If you're not online, you feel left out. Like, if your friends post about something and you didn't see it, you feel like you're out of the loop.
Does that ever lead to conflicts or misunderstandings between friends?
All the time. People get upset if you don't like their posts or reply fast enough. It's like everything is measured by how active you are online.
That's a lot of pressure to keep up. Do you think it's even possible to meet those expectations?
Not really. No matter how much you try, someone's always doing more, posting more, getting more attention.
Does that ever make you want to step back, take a break from it all?
Sometimes I've thought about deleting my accounts, but it's hard. It feels like cutting yourself off from everyone.
So even though it's overwhelming, you're stuck in this cycle. Why do you think it's so hard to step away?
Because it's everywhere. It's not just friends. It's news, trends, everything happening in the world. If you're not on it, you feel like you're falling behind.
Falling behind, that's interesting. Do you think social media sets unrealistic expectations for success or how life should look?
Definitely. It's like everyone's showing off their best moments, vacations, parties, achievements, and you start to feel like your life isn't good enough.
Do you think most young people realize that it's just a highlight reel, not the full picture?
Not really. Even when you know it's fake, it's hard not to compare. It's like your brain forgets.
And what about the impact on mental health? Do you think social media makes that worse?
For sure. A lot of people I know deal with anxiety, and social media just adds to it. The pressure, the negativity, the trolls. It's a lot.
Do you think the anonymity of social media plays a role in that negativity?
Yeah, people say things online they'd never say in person. It's like they forget there's a real person on the other side of the screen.
And how does that affect you or people you know?
It makes you afraid to post sometimes. Like, what if someone says something mean or judges you? It's hard not to take it personally.
Do you think this is why some people struggle with self-esteem when it comes to social media?
Definitely. It's like you're putting yourself out there, but if the response isn't good, it hits hard. You start questioning yourself.
So, would you say social media is more harmful than helpful overall?
It depends. For some people, it's a way to express themselves or stay connected, but for others, it can be really toxic.
What do you think could be done to make it less toxic?
Maybe if people were more real online, less focused on showing off, and if platforms did more to stop bullying and negativity.
That's a good point. Do you think education about healthy social media use could help?
Maybe, but it's hard to change habits when everyone around you is doing the same thing.
True. So, where do you think the balance lies between using it and letting it control you?
I think it's about knowing when to stop, like putting limits on your time and reminding yourself that it's not real life.
Do you think most people your age can do that?
Not easily. It takes effort, and honestly, I don't think a lot of us are even thinking about it.
So the cycle continues, but do you think there's hope for change?
Maybe if more people started talking about it like this and actually thinking about how it affects us, things could get better.
Conversations like this are definitely a start.